Okay, so we got a video topic here that I've been needing to do since they got into the conference finals, and I don't want it to feel exactly like the videos that I do, where I'm looking at where they went this season, where they go next year. So, really, with Carolina, there's a few things to talk about here. First off, they came out of nowhere to those that weren't paying much attention. Watching as much hockey as I did, I kept thinking, if Carolina could put this together regularly, they got something going. They were 46, 29, and 7 overall, so 99 points. And this is why the whole, they barely made the playoffs and they shouldn't be where they are. That's ridiculous. They were 16 points better than last year and almost 100 points. They were one behind Pittsburgh. Yeah, okay. They were within, 5 points of leading their division? Yeah, they were pretty good. And considering how they started the season, we shouldn't be entirely surprised with where they are. They were 6-5-1 through October. Nobody was paying attention. The storm surge started in October. Nobody paid much attention that first couple of times. And it was, they've got a storm surge. That's nice. They're a bunch of losers. Who cares? So, it started October 5th. So, the first win they got at home against the Rangers. They won 8-5. And all they did was stand at center ice, do the Viking clap, and then charge down the ice as a team and jump into the glass like a Lambeau leap kind of thing. And it was fine. And nobody said a whole lot about it. There were some fans that said, that's stupid. I thought it was kind of fun. And it continued from there. But again, they're 6-5-1 through October. Nobody pays much attention. November, they're 6-4-3. So after 2 months of the season, they're 12-9-4 on the year. They've lost more than they've won. So all of these celebrations, it's window dressing. Now, Tom Dundon definitely has a role in this. Tom Dundon has been big on two things. Three, actually. He's been big on the entertainment value of hockey, which means more offense. He wants more and more scoring. And he seems to have some sense of the fashion of the Carolina Hurricanes needing some updating, which this third jersey did nicely. I'm not a huge fan of the length of the logo or the double flag. I understand this is a Hurricane flag. But the shoulders, the gray shoulders, and everything else with this jersey are fantastic, and they're on point. So there's a lot to like with where Carolina's headed, not just with this year's run, but beyond it. Now in December they go 4-8-1, so this team is absolutely dead in the water, right? We're headed into January. Nobody's talking about Carolina making the playoffs. There's talk about how they're just not good enough. Their goaltending seems to be okay, but they need other help elsewhere. And without McElhinney, they're dead in the water. Now, January, they go 8-3-1. But because they've been mediocre for so long during the season, and let's be honest, the last decade, nobody paid a whole lot of attention. It's a cute 8-3-1 record, but they're still 12-11-2 over those last 2 months, 24-20-6 altogether, which means they're still below 500. They're still not playing great hockey, and in the East, where it looks like it's going to require 100 points to make the playoffs, they're nowhere near. February arrives. February, they go 10-3. March, 9-6-1. And in April, when everybody else isn't paying any attention to what's going on, they get 3 straight wins. So over those last 3 months, if you include April, 22-9-1. This is a team that entered the playoffs playing very, very well. But along the way, February 16th, bunch of jerks comes out. So Don Cherry, Brian Burke, and some others, okay, and people always say the dinosaurs. It's not just older hockey fans here. There's a lot of fans that don't like what Carolina did this year with the celebrations after the game, and it disrespects the game and makes it all a joke. But it garners a lot of attention from mainstream media. It crosses over. This is the kind of thing that the NHL will secretly, quietly, and not publicly encourage. Where they'll say this definitely, it connected the team to the fans, it seemed. Justin Williams was the one that initiated it. It's not like it was Svechnikov as an 18-year-old rookie. Hey, guys, I know it'll be fun. No, this is the veteran leader. This is the captain saying, we're going to start doing, let's do this tonight. And he was the one that ended it. He was the one that came out and said, all right, this is the last one. If we win tonight, that'll be it. And then the Capitals won. So that last storm surge never happened. So we'll never know what they might have had planned for that night, or if they did, I didn't see. It doesn't really matter. The point is, Williams started it, Williams ended it, and it has not come back in the playoffs. But there was a bonding that occurred between the fans and the team that has never occurred before. Now, 2006, they win the Stanley Cup. Of course, a city's going to bond with a team that wins a championship. Who loves you guys? I've always loved you guys. Pay no attention to the moth-eaten jersey I'm wearing because it's been sitting in an attic somewhere. I always believed, those people. This feels different. This absolutely feels different. And attendance got better as the season went along. And I know because they're front-running jerks now. Yeah, front-running fans. We call them bandwagoners, but according to Don Cherry, they're front-running fans, which means now you can get a bunch of front-running jerks. Front-running has been shoehorned in there on the new t-shirts. I just have a bunch of jerk shirts, so now it's kind of a collector's item because it's not a front-running jerk shirt. But, for Don Cherry, he will admit their goaltending is good. That's as far as he'll go. They sweep the New York Islanders. And the farthest he'll go is to go, they're playing pretty well. I like Rod Brindamore, and their goaltending's pretty good. No love for Aho, huh? None for Teravainen, and none for Justin Williams. Justin Williams, a guy who has been nothing but key for Stanley Cup winners in years past. Mr. Game 7, as he hates to be called. And we end up with this. Now, people will read a lot into Don Cherry. And really, honestly, here's the thing. If you don't watch him every week, you're missing out. And you're missing out because, yes, he will come up with a bunch of jerks and front-running jerks comments that make people go, he's really out of touch. But he will usually have items on Coach's Corner where he's 100% correct. And I can understand where he's coming from with this. Because he has been a big proponent of hockey in Quebec. Right? So he wants to see hockey return to Quebec. And I know people say, oh, that wouldn't make any sense. Yeah, there's just an NHL arena there and they can make a ton of money. And it's guaranteed sellout every night. It makes no sense to go back to Quebec where you have a ready-made fan base and arena. Why would you do that? Anyhow, Carolina's one of those targets, right? You have Carolina, Florida, and Arizona, and those teams get recycled as, oh, this is the team's going to move. This team's going to move. And now that we've got Houston in the picture, I don't know how Don Cherry feels about that idea. That maybe it would be Houston that would get a team and not Quebec. So I think some of that ties to his resentment towards the Carolina Hurricanes. So he's already resenting a team that didn't draw coming into this year. I did the video yesterday on the best and worst attending fans in the league, and Carolina was at or near the bottom for the last half decade. So as far as he's concerned, this is a team that didn't get support from the fans. This is a team that really should probably never have gone to Carolina, should have stayed in Hartford, because there are fans that think that and forget that they played in the mall, and that didn't work. Hartford didn't work, and it wouldn't work now either. But one thing that one transformation I've gone through in running this channel over the last 3 years is getting to know fans from every single fan base. And it has really softened my stand on what teams should or shouldn't move and whether or not those moves should take place. Carolina? No. Tom Dundon came in, and he has really done everything he can to make this team work. Now, you look right now at their top 3 scorers from this year. Sebastian Aho, 30 goals, 53 assists. He's an emerging superstar. Teuvo Teravainen, 21 goals, 55 assists. Man, did Chicago miss out on losing him. They didn't want to. Stan Bowman didn't want to trade him. And I get the feeling somebody else said, Stan, you got to throw him in. We've got to get rid of that money. We've got to stay under the cap. And then Williams, 23 goals and 30 assists. And you know what's noticeable about Justin Williams? And I'm not going to get into that in this video because this video is about Carolina on the whole. But Williams had a really slow start to the year. His numbers were awful. And all I kept thinking was, well, Williams is done. This is his last year. And then in concert with the team getting better, so did he. His numbers came up, and he seemed to play better and better as the year went along. There's something that's happened with Carolina that we can look at, and like I pointed out going to the playoffs, anytime Carolina makes the playoffs, it seems like they go to the conference finals. It's one of those curiosities about the Carolina Hurricanes, but this does feel more sustainable than they've ever been. Traditionally, they're in the playoffs, and then they're out again. This time they seem to have an owner that is willing to put his money where his mouth is. I think they're more willing to spend the money to keep a team together than they would have been coming out of that 2006 Stanley Cup as an example. I think that they have a team that is bonded over the Storm Surge, whether you like it or you don't like it, it definitely bonded these guys to each other as teammates. And the bunch of jerks thing, they are wearing it as a badge of honor, and I like that. I like that they're not trying to change it, they're not trying to soften it, and they're not extending an olive branch. And I think that's why Don Cherry's gotten even angrier. I think Cherry is livid that bunch of jerks has become like their rallying cry, because he's like, I didn't mean that as a compliment. Yeah, and I know the old man yells at cloud thing comes out, and that's basically exactly what this is. But I think he figured that when he went out and said, you guys are a bunch of jerks, I think he figured a little more contrition from them. Some form of, we're sorry if you're offended, something. I'm not sure exactly what he expected. Maybe he figured because Justin Williams or Rod Brindamore are veterans of the game, that maybe they go, you know what, Don, you're right. Maybe they'd reach out to him, and nothing. But Don is legitimately livid, but he likes McElhinney. So he will throw in there. And I saw it again where it's like, yeah, they swept the Islanders. Pretty good goaltending. And I'm thinking, come on, Don, seriously. Come on, you watch that. And we know, we can tell, that in the first round he cheered for Washington. Second round he's cheering for the Islanders. Next round he'll be cheering for either Boston or Columbus, whoever they play, because at the time I'm recording this, they are awaiting the winner of that series. But, it's very, very entertaining. And if they win the Stanley Cup, it is going to be worth the price of admission to see what Don has to say after they win it. And whether he says, they proved me wrong, or if he snips, this is their only Stanley Cup they're going to get, and they're still a bunch of jerks, and I don't care. The truth is that everything they've done this year, all of this combines to form a really, really good story. And I've talked before about how certain situations and teams feel like a Hollywood movie. Last year, Vegas. Everything that happened with the Vegas Golden Knights felt like it belonged in a Hollywood movie. Right from the tragedy before the team went on the ice, right up until their triumph at the end. That was almost the ultimate triumph, but getting to the Stanley Cup Finals was a triumph in and of itself. This year, that movie feels like it's the underdog, the Bad News Bears story of the Carolina Hurricanes. The team that nobody believed in. I believed in them the year before, and then they let me down, so I went, I'm not believing in Carolina again. Because, that's kind of how that works. But, they've proven everybody wrong. And it started in January. And it has continued until now. So, for people who think, they just got hot at the right time. Well, they've been hot since the beginning of January. And people are just starting to find out just how good this team is. And just what a great team it is. They've gotten into the conference finals without Sebastian Aho really dragging them there. Without Teravainen really being necessarily the leader. At the end, if they get to the Stanley Cup, odds are those are your scoring leaders. But there's different heroes along the way. And that's an important story, and that's also part of the whole Hollywood idea as well, is that each chapter of their season has a different hero to it. And McElhinney being picked up from the Toronto Maple Leafs on waivers. Stroke of genius by Don Waddell, a guy who, I've talked about before. And his tenure with the Atlanta Thrashers. But you know what? It's worked out really, really well for him with Carolina so far. And Ron Francis, if this is ever a movie, when they're holding the Stanley Cup up and they're skating around the ice, Ron Francis should be out in the crowd pointing a finger and winking at the guys like, I knew you guys had it in you. And I might have got fired, but thanks for proving me right before security drags him off. There's a lot to this. There's a lot to the story of the Carolina Hurricanes this year. And who knows where it ends. But even if, let's say they lose in the conference finals, this has already been a fantastic season. And I'm anxious to see what the bunch of jerks will come up with next year. We know they're going to have new away uniforms. I'm calling it now. I think they may have this logo on their away uniforms. Something a little more punchy than just what they've had, the standard white jerseys. And Tom Dundon's going to keep making changes. And they will have the chance to continue to improve over the summer. So there you go. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.